Hi, and welcome to the second video in our series Overcoming Fear. In the first video, we identified the problem that fear causes. Fear is designed to help us get out of danger. But when we predict a danger in the future or imagine something, fear doesn't help us escape because wherever we go, the danger goes with us. It's in our heads. And worse yet, since fear tells us not to take risks, it makes it that much harder for us to get out of fear. Fear is a trap. Fear's a trap, but it's a trap that can be escaped. All the research we have on what long-term fear does to people shows that nobody has to be trapped in fear forever. We see some people who go through terrible experiences and terrible fears who go on to live happy, healthy, long lives. And we see other people who are scarred by fear even though they didn't go through something that was extraordinarily difficult or dangerous. Why? What's the way out of the trap? What's the antidote to fear? The opposite of fear? Well, there are plenty of possible answers to that question, but I'm proposing that the opposite of fear is love. Now, this isn't an idea that I just came up with. I first ran into it in the Bible, in a letter written by one of the first Christian teachers a few years after Jesus lived. That letter says, among other things, this: "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear." That stuck with me ever since I first read it. Perfect love drives out fear. Love isn't the most obvious opposite to fear, but if you consider what fear and love do, it starts to make sense. Fear pushes us away. When we fear someone or something, we try to avoid it, to get far away from it. When we love someone or something, we try to approach it, to get close to it. So if fear pushes us away from others, love brings us closer. And there's an even deeper opposition between fear and love. Fear moves us to stay safe. Fear is self-centered. Fear tells us to think about ourselves, to protect what we have, to stay the same. Love is other-centered. Love moves us to think about other people, to take risks, to share what we have. And most of all, love tells us to grow and change. When we're living out of love, not focused on risk and danger and what we need to do to protect ourselves, we stop worrying about the dangers we survive. So love casts out fear. Love casts out fear, but where does love come from? Psychologists today have found evidence to support a theory that's been around for a long time. We only learn to love when we experience love. Psychologists tell us that people have to be loved before they can love. And that's part of why we seek love from each other. But seeking love from other people only gets us so far. As far as we can tell, a person needs to have the experience of being loved by another to get started on the journey of loving people outside of themselves. But other people can only do so much. Relying on others for the love that we need causes all sorts of problems. You may have seen relationships where one of the people in it is leaning 100% on the other person for their need for love. And if you have, you don't need me to tell you that things go downhill in a hurry. It's humanly impossible for anyone to totally fulfill the needs of another person for very long. And a relationship where one person is totally dependent on another for love isn't stable. That burden is just too much for any one person to carry for very long. There are times when somebody can take that role on for a little while, but in the long term, nobody can look to another individual for that unconditional love that overcomes fear. So how do we find love that doesn't go away? That's where we go beyond psychology and into spirituality. That's what we'll talk about next time. For today, though, we have a question, and the question is this: is there someone in your life who has your back and you can trust? Who are they, and what makes them trustworthy? If you're with a group of people and you're comfortable, maybe you can share an answer. And if not, just jot it down and Think about it in the time between now and our next video.